Hello and welcome to the Week 10 preview show of the Jefferson My Drinks podcast, the pod on a mission to normalise 18 fantasy leagues. I'm Pete McManus. I am back from America to join you two and no doubt fix what was a terrible show last week. Good to see you, boys. Good day.
Good day.
Good day. Good day. How's it going? How's your holiday, mate?
It was very good. It was very good. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm a bit jet lagged. The only down it was really good. It's a lovely part of the world. The Broncos game was good. I mean, it was all right. They won, so that made it a little bit better. The Avalanche game was really good. That's a great live ice hockey is brilliant to watch. It's a great sport to watch live. I mean, they were 3-0 down inside 5 minutes, and of my limited ice hockey knowledge, I was like, this isn't good. But they spent the rest of the game fighting back into it. Before they eventually lost 5-2.
You just stood there shouting, just pull the keeper, pull the keeper.
Yeah, well, in 4-2 they did. 4-2 with 5 minutes to go. They were like, right, we're going for it. And then 2 minutes later, it's 5-2, and that was that. So, yeah, it was good. I think my only negative about the trip was I didn't watch as much NFL as I would have liked to. Obviously, staying in a house with family who aren't that into it, with my family who aren't that into it, I was like, when it was sort of Thursday night football and Monday night football, and especially Red Zone and stuff on Sunday, I didn't really get the chance to watch it, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a shame.
So I'm going on my own next time. If there was ever a test to work out whether the wife listens to the podcast or not, that was it.
Yeah.
So how have you two been? What have I missed?
An amazing backward hurdle by Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's about the only highlight from the weekend.
That was insane. The spin move to a backwards hurdle was just unreal. And it's been shown everywhere since, hasn't it? And we'll see that for years and years and years. It's like the OBJ catch, the one-hander. We'll just see. See that forever.
Have you seen the Eagles' reaction when he did it? The bench
the sideline reaction. Yeah.
Right. That's when you know that it's a serious move, when your own team is impressed by what you've just done, even though he's a freak of nature anyway.
He's having a great season, but sometimes it just makes me realise he's been wasted, hasn't he, for all the Giants for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He had a good rookie year, and the first couple of years looked good, and the Giants were sort of not necessarily playoff relevant, but they were about a decent football team. But it's a bit like when McCaffrey was on the Panthers. It's just like, get him out of there, get him on a decent team,
like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, you get a few years of a good running back, so let's put him on a decent team and make the most of it.
Yeah,
like Joe Mixon.
Yeah. Khalil Herbert, mate. That's what it's all about. Get him out of there. Put him on a decent team.
It's the future, mate.
We're recording Wednesday night instead of Tuesday this week, which is partly due to the fact that I never would have been able to do this last night because jet lag I was in bed by about 8 o'clock last night. But mainly because the trade deadline was yesterday. So we thought we'd leave it in case there was any big stories to talk about, which I don't think there's no major trades.
I don't know. The Cowboys going all in on the season and picking up Jonathan Mingo.
That's an odd one, isn't it? It's one of those trades that makes me want to pick up Jonathan Mingo in Dynasty, knowing full well I'm going to drop him again in about 3 weeks' time. Just in case. Maybe it was the Panthers that have just made him terrible, but I think that might have just been a way to burn draft picks for whatever reason. The Cowboys want to burn draft picks.
Yeah, a 4th round pick for Jonathan Mingo and a 7th. I mean, come on, what is Jerry Jones doing?
I mean, the Panthers have had their pants down.
Yeah, well, yeah. I wonder if they just went to Cooper Rush and said, right, Cooper, it's your team for the rest of the year. Which receiver do you really want? And he went, ooh, I like that Mingo guy. He's got a good name.
Yeah. They're a mess, aren't they?
Get him for us.
They're an
absolute shambles.
They're one of the reasons. I mean, we're at the point in fantasy football now where we're like, 9 weeks in, you're either in the playoffs or looking like you're going to get into the playoffs, in the mix or out of it. And I think if you're either in the mix or in the playoffs, it's that time of year where you start looking towards those fixtures and what might be happening at the end of the season. And the Cowboys worry me because I feel like there's a lot of people, me included, who've got CeeDee Lamb, and we're going to get to the play. And I'm burnt off Keenan Allen last year doing exactly this. But we're going to get to the playoffs and they're going to be like, yeah, we're just dropping all of our starters because we're done now and just not playing through weeks 16 and 17. And that
it's okay, mate. You can just join me in hating CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. Just like for a living. That's all I do.
It's not CeeDee Lamb's fault, is it?
It's all of them. They're all just terrible.
So
I don't even know why I hate them so much. I just hate them. Like I can't draft them.
Well, I know why I don't like Dak. It's because he's useless. But I don't know why I don't like Lamb. So are you making a point now, Pete, that you have taken Jonathan Mingo for later in the season when CeeDee Lamb's not playing at all?
No, I'm not. I haven't taken Jonathan Mingo in any leagues yet, but I might have a look and see if he's available. I'm just making the point.
Mate, he will be available. I can guarantee it. If you're in a dynasty roster and you're looking at your roster going, "Oof, Jonathan Mingo looks like a good option for me," there is something drastically wrong with your rosters.
I'm gonna have a look and see how many rosters he's available in while we're talking.
Probably 90%.
Oh, he's available in our main dynasty. You'd be surprised to know.
I won't.
So who are the Panthers going to benefit from this then?
I mean, it's not really going to change too much, is it? It looks like Leggett is. Well, Legett's playing well. You've got
Thielen coming back.
You've got Coker as well. Is it Coker? Jalen Coker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
you're part of this fan club.
I personally don't really know him. I'm not going to lie.
I jumped on him last week. I picked him up in a few leagues last week.
I haven't seen him. I don't think I've seen any of him other than the bits. I couldn't even tell you if he played, and I was there last week actually at the game. Couldn't tell you if he was involved. But I did see that there was a few people starting his sort of like fan club, and they were calling themselves the Cokeheads. That's like I'm all in on that. That sounds great.
Yeah,
sure. Do you like that?
Yes, he's available. Jonathan Mingo's available
everywhere.
Can happen,
pretty much everywhere, unless you're in a really deep league.
And then the Steelers wrapped up a deal for Mike Williams.
Yeah,
it's a bit of an odd one. I like it, but I don't like it.
I like it. I mean, obviously, I want the Steelers to do horrendously, but I think this is a good deal for him.
They need him, or they need a receiver, and he was probably after Cooper went, and who else moved? Hopkins moved. The Ravens picked up Deontay Johnson, who was probably never going back to them anyway. It's actually a really smart move because he's probably the best of what was available, or the best of what was left. And considering
the Steelers couldn't have traded back for Deontay Johnson.
Say again.
They couldn't have traded back for Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, so he has to go to free agency for them to re-sign at the end of this year. It's a good move because they needed an extra weapon. It's just Mike Williams looked terrible for the Jets. I don't know whether it was him or Rodgers or just the system, because as we've mentioned several times, the system's not great. It's just he was the best available. The Steelers needed it, and the Steelers are making a little bit of a push as well. They've made a couple of nice moves that puts them right up there.
Yeah.
It's just a from Pete. Great content, Pete.
Just you say the Steelers are making a push for it. I mean, we all know they're going to lose wildcard weekend, so I just don't see the point, to be honest. If you were going to make a push, I made this point already, but if you're going to make a push for it, you should have made a push for it 5 flipping months ago and done something about your quarterback situation and done something about your running back situation and the wide receiver. But there you go.
But Najee Harrison's playing well.
He is. He's not under contract after this year.
Yeah.
How does that help moving forward?
They've just got to sort that out.
Yeah. How do you feel about Khalil Herbert?
I'll let Ian start with this one because it's his team.
Okay, fair enough. I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, all I've seen since we signed him is a load of his stats, and his career stats, on average, are better than what Chase Brown's putting up right now. So it's a good buy. It's only a 7th round pick in a roster. He was buried at the Bears. He was 3rd choice running back behind Roschon Johnson and my boy DeAndre Swift. And he's not coming in to take the backfield from Chase Brown. He's coming in to just take the occasional snap, the 3rd down work from Chase Brown, because he had his standout game this week. He's shown that he can handle 27 touches and get the business done. So I think it's Chase Brown all day. Khalil Herbert is just going to pace him and take a couple of snaps here and there.
I think he might get more and more work as the season goes on. I quite like it. I think it's a good signing. It's a sensible signing.
No, yeah, I'm happy with that. I mean, I think we should have done more. I think we should have got a tackle and a corner as well. But yeah, I do like it.
It's hard though. I keep seeing it and talking Texans here, but Texans moaning about not improving the O-line. You have to find someone that's willing to sell. Nobody's going to sell the starting O-line because there's nothing to replace them.
No, but
that's honest. Like we were crucified by Quinnen Williams from the Jets, who I think he had 3 sacks, maybe 4 sacks, all through our left guard. I think there was 6 sacks that went through our left guard. And every Texans fan saying trade for a left guard, trade for a left guard. Find me a left guard that is going to get traded, because there isn't any. And that's honest. Nobody is going to trade an O-lineman, especially at this stage of the season where they're picking up injuries left, right, and centre. No one's going to trade away a tackle unless it's going to be a higher.
The Bears might, because their O-line is pretty useless.
Yeah, but do you want a pretty useless O-lineman?
But in terms of the Bengals making trades, like it's only the 3rd ever deadline day trade we've made. So to go out there and expect us to make 2, 3, 4 trades, and double our historical total is completely unrealistic. So I'm happy with the one.
Herbert's a really good pickup, especially with Zach Moss going to IR. He'll do a job. I think his 3rd down stats this year are ridiculous.
Yeah, and Herbert's on a contract year this year, so it gives him an opportunity to put a case forward for someone to give him a contract for the next 3-4 years.
I think he's a good player. He's a good.
I do.
Addition. Did you talk about Hopkins last week?
A little bit, but we can touch on it if you want.
I've lost track of.
No, we had covered D-Hop last week.
But he did have a good game. He's still capable.
Yeah, even though Kelsey got 16 targets.
Yeah.
D-Hop still managed to score twice. Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of targets.
He's coming back as well, isn't he? So always the end of the season, you see Kelsey start finding lots of targets and stuff like that. He's always this time where he starts to cook, and he'll end up as tight end 1 again. He's got a long way to go to catch Kittle, but he's playing well again.
He usually is.
I'm Bowers.
This time last year, he went off a cliff, and everyone thought he was finished until we got to the playoffs, and then he absolutely dominated for 4 straight weeks. And it was like, maybe he's not finished, and they won the Super Bowl.
I have to say it. He's not finished. He's only 29. He's not 29, by the way. It's just, if anyone's ever seen the TalkSport clip, you'll know what that is.
Yeah, he's mid-30s, late 30s.
He's playing well again. And I think me and Ian said it last week. The D-Hop trade is a seriously good trade for them as well, because they needed someone in there, and he's not got the pace anymore, but that's why you've got Xavier Worthy in there. One thing that DeAndre Hopkins has always had is good hands, and he's proved that again as soon as he's moved there. So yeah, he's a really good pickup.
While we're on the subject of Kelsey, just to wrap up the first quarter, I know I've mentioned it to you two on a group chat. It's gone too far. Like, yes, I sent you that picture of the Kelsey brothers on the front of some cereal box. I was like, it's gone. All right, they were funny, they're quite good together, but it's gone too far. We don't need, like, it's obviously worse stateside than it is over here. but we don't need this amount of the pair of them in the media and in various adverts and all that sort of stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and they were both voted sexiest podcast hosts as well, weren't they? Which I was greatly offended at.
So it should be. So I didn't have a great week in fantasy this week. I was all right the week before, but this week it all fell apart, and it was down to several people. But who had a good? There was a couple of people who had a good week for me. So who had a good week for you?
I would like to start this one, if I may, and say I have been waiting for this day for 1 season and 10 weeks. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like I was short in one league for a receiver, and I had a choice between JSN and Lad McConkey, and I went with JSN because of
he's better.
Because DK Metcalf wasn't there. He went for 37 points, 180 yards, 2 touchdowns off 7 receptions. And after the first quarter, I was like, he's not going to get a touch, because he popped one straight up to the defender for them to intercept. So it made it even better. But yeah, JSN, I've loved this kid since he was playing at Ohio. I think he's mint, and he finally had a breakout game, so I was absolutely buzzing.
Is that his breakout game, though, or is that just a flash in the pan because Metcalf was hurt?
That's his breakout game. I'm all in now. Starting every week.
I think until Lockett goes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. I mean, over the moon with that one.
He's shown flashes. I would just be concerned that might be all it is when Metcalf comes back. But we'll see. He might be right.
It's a good 1-2 punch, though, isn't it, Metcalf? And if you're getting 180 yards out of someone, he's just got to do it consistently now. Go on, A.
Well, I've got to go with Joe Burrow. 27 and 39. No, I have to. I have to. 251 yards, five touchdowns.
He wasn't thrilled with it as well on the bench, didn't he?
There was an interception in there which went back for a pick 6, but that was Yoshi Vasi's fault. If you've seen it,
was it?
Completely missed the block and just let the corner come down and pick Burrow off on a swing or a bubble screen. But yeah, Joe Burrow, QB1 this week, 39.14 points. Awesome week.
If that was, I mean, he's playing well. He looks, and I mean, I was looking at your schedule and where you are, and we will get on to Thursday night. It's a big game on Thursday night, but you've got to stop going 0-2 to start the season, because you just there's just not enough games to recover from digging a hole at the start of the season every single time.
Well,
it's even worse this time.
There is, because we have dug ourselves out of that hole. We have been in a bigger hole this year than we traditionally are. But in our last 4 years, we've started 5-4, 5-4, 5-4, 4-5. I mean, that's bad. That.
Yeah,
it is for the talent you've got.
Yeah, we are such slow starters.
Yeah, feels like you're a bit like you need to. That Patriots, I just keep thinking back to that Patriots game at the start. It's like that could be the game that ultimately just costs you when it matters. But you're gonna have to get a big win somewhere Thursday.
Well, it was the Patriots game that we should have won, where nothing went right for us really. There was the Chiefs game, which was a horrendous PI call to give Chiefs field goal range, and then there was a Ravens game where McPherson missed a field goal because our holder couldn't get hold of the ball properly. Like we've not had the luck at the beginning of the season, really. Well, hopefully we are trying to claw it back. Have you got any bright spots from this week, Pete?
Yeah, well, I've got 2 that I wanted to mention. Somehow had both of these players in the same team and managed to lose. So the rest of them were doing something terrible. But on the subject of people having breakout games, Garrett Wilson had his a few weeks ago, and then they signed Davante Adams, and he's just got better and better since. I was one of the few people who wasn't worried when they signed Davante Adams, because I thought it would free him up, but I didn't think he'd have like the games he has been having. But 9 of 10 targets, and 2 touchdowns, including an incredible catch for 30 points on Thursday night, was impressive. And the other one was Devon Achane, who is just looking, now Tua's back, it's like, right, just plug me in as the best running back in the league. So he had 12 carries for 63 and a touchdown, and 8 targets. He caught all 8 of them and took them for 58 and a touchdown. And I was like, if your running back's getting 8 catches, you are going to be set up in a full PPR league. You're going to be set up pretty well. So I'm fully expecting him to get knocked out of a game at some point in the next couple of weeks and ruin it. But for the time, I'm very happy that Devon Achane is on my lineup.
Just on that that first selection of Garrett Wilson, imagine being the guy that told someone to play James Cook over him this week. I'd be furious if I was that person.
This week?
Yeah.
Who told you that, Ian?
Yeah. That was my selection nightmare last week.
In fairness, I was backing the Texans D more than anything there.
Which they were brilliant in the first half and then just fell to pieces in the second.
And let's be honest, H, it's the Jets. What are you doing?
Like, I called this.
It'd have been worse. It'd have been a lot worse if Malachi Corley didn't have the dumbest fumble you'll ever see.
Yeah.
I called this last week. I told you we wouldn't win. I don't know why we struggle at MetLife, but we struggle at MetLife. And I mean, our O-line was tragic, and I mean, 8 sacks on CJ. That you're not going to win games of football by just constantly going backwards. No Nico Collins. So, as I said, someone had to step up for us to win, and nobody stepped up. We had 3 people catch, and one of them was our running back. It just wasn't good enough, and that's Jets won with 2 ridiculous catches from Garrett Wilson as well, because even his first touchdown that doesn't get mentioned is still a ridiculous catch.
Yeah,
as well.
He's really stepped up. He's a top player. He's another one that worries me that he's not going to be relevant at the end of the season, because I know as good. The Jets might have won and they're like, oh, we've kept our season alive. It's like wouldn't surprise me if they lost to the Cardinals this week and they're suddenly 3-7. Then they'll win next week, and they'll be like, "Oh, we're 4-7." It's like maybe we're still alive, but they've lost too many games. You can't lose 5 straight and then still expect to make the playoffs in a pretty competitive conference. So,
yeah, probably not in that division. Yeah.
Any more we want to mention before we move on to duds?
No, we'll go on to duds if you want. I'm sure you've got more duds than
I've got one. It's not a massive dud, but as I didn't watch it, I kind of want you to explain to me how Joe Burrow had such a great game and how you have got no T. Higgins. Yoshi Vass is not brilliant. And the other lad, Burton, apparently turned up in his pajama pants on Saturday, so didn't get to play. And Ja'Marr Chase still only puts up 11 points in fantasy. How is that possible?
Well, because there's no T. Higgins, Ja'Marr Chase was double teamed in pretty much every play. So Burrow spread it around. I mean, he spread it around that well that Mike Gesicki scored twice. Our 4th choice tight end, Drew Sample, scored 1. Yoshi Vass had 1 target, 1 catch for a touchdown. And Chase Brown had a game as well. So obviously we are better with T. Higgins in because it frees up Ja'Marr Chase. But when Chase is getting double teamed, Burrow will spread it around. So yeah, but Joe Burrow was outscored by both of our tight ends.
Ja'Marr Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he had 7 catches. So but then I'm looking at it. It's like 7 catches for 43 yards. I was like, what is going on? Yeah. Ja'Marr Chase, not happy. I'm not happy this week.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Not happy with that total. I had a lot of those players this week where they were just sort of scoring not enough points for the sort of players that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
H, anyone who let you down?
I've got 2. Sam Laporta is becoming an absolute nightmare for me because I drafted him last year in our main dynasty, and I have to keep playing him at the moment because Dallas Goedert is being Dallas Goedert again. I'm off the train again. I'll be back on next week when he's back. But Sam Laporta 2 for 3 for 28 yards is just not good. I know it was a bad situation with the weather but yeah, you kind of expect more off somebody that is quite always seen as one of the better tight ends. But he's been bad all year, though. I think he's like tight end 24, so it's expected.
He's a little bit like... So I was going to put Kyler Murray in the segment, but I didn't, because I didn't really think it was his fault. And the Sam Laporta thing is a little bit like the same thing. It's not really his fault that he's having such a bad week, because they are absolutely dominating teams. And that O-line is ripping teams apart. And Montgomery and Gibbs are just wandering through. Like there was... I can't remember how many points the Lions scored last week, but then I looked at Amon-Ra's line and it was like he had absolutely nothing. It's not their fault. It's just they're not in competitive games. They're absolutely destroying teams, and they look, from an NFL point of view, they look really good. And I'm delighted I backed them to win the Super Bowl on our prediction episode earlier in the season, because so far I'm looking really good for it. But I just think that's going to cause a problem when you've got likes of Amon-Ra, you've got Gibbs in the passing game, you've got Jameson Williams now back. Because I just don't think Sam Laporta is going to get enough across the year, because there's going to be so many games like this where teams just can't keep up with them. So it's a bit of a shame. It's not on his talent. He's still a talented tight end. It's just sometimes the situation doesn't work.
Yeah. Just expected him to make more of a jump, but he's been poor all year. But this one was took the biscuit a little bit, to be honest. And then Tank Bigsby, who I got myself quite high on. He had out snapped ETM for a long time, and then this week just goes back to his old self. 8 carries for 22 yards and 2.2 points.
Yeah,
dropped.
Very.
Get him off.
Well, there were rumours going around that the Jags were going to try and shift the ETN in a trade, which never happened.
No. Wonder why.
I think where he'd go. Probably the Cowboys would be desperate. Yeah, they'd probably give him a first for him.
Deadline's been and gone. Yeah, you probably get 2 firsts from the Cowboys. Yeah. So I've got Kyler Murray, Pete.
It's not his fault.
I will stick up for Kyler and go, they just ran the ball every single snap. Like, it was ridiculous.
I know, but do you know how many rushing yards Kyler Murray had?
5.
5, yeah. 3 or 5.
6 and lost at fumble. I mean, 4.76 fantasy points. What is that?
The worst, so I wasn't watching that. The worst part about it was I saw that Trey McBride had scored a touchdown. So I was like, well, at least, and I had Kyler. I was up against the Trey McBride manager. So I was like, well, at least I've got the Kyler points for that. So it sort of counters it. And then realized it was a rushing touchdown.
No.
I was like, what are you doing? Trey McBride scored 2 touchdowns this year, and neither of them have been receiving touchdowns. It's like, we're in week 10 and he hasn't scored a receiving touchdown yet. It's like, what is going on? Yeah. I think that's the problem with that game. Is it's a bit like the Jags game that you went to, the Jags Patriots game. So I had Trevor Lawrence in one league, and he started slow, then he started cooking, and we're like, actually, he's going to light this Patriots team up. And then they were like, oh, we'll just run the ball every single time. And Bigsby was doing it. So it's like, well, we're not going to make him do anything else. I was like, I need him to do. And I don't think he passed the ball in the fourth quarter at all. They had the ball for most of the fourth quarter, and Trevor Lawrence didn't throw it. It's like, because if you don't
I have to say, that was the quickest second half to a game I think I've ever witnessed in my life. It was just all it was. Just hand it off. Bigsby, see you later. And the thing is, the Patriots just couldn't stop it either, which was even worse, because it was like, that was the quickest second. I was home for 9 o'clock.
The Cardinals, so we mentioned it on I think the last time I was on, the Cardinals Chargers Thursday night game was like that the other week. It was the quickest Thursday night, or was it Monday night? So either Thursday or Monday night. It was the quickest game I've ever got up for, because it was like, I was up at 1, it was over by about 3:30. Because it was just like both teams were like just handing it off. Just let's get up through this game and get on with it. So
You can get a solid 3 hours sleep before work.
Yeah. You need, with quarterbacks, picking a fantasy quarterback is difficult because you don't necessarily need a quarterback of a team that dominates. You need either a rusher, which obviously helps, or you need teams that are going to be in shootouts all the time. And like Geno Smith's been a good option this year because they're throwing the ball and they're having to throw the ball. Like I fancied Jared Goff at the start of the year. I thought he was going to have a good year. He's not having a great year because of what we just talked about with Laporta. They're not in games. Like they're blowing teams out. So it's a bit like Mahomes. Mahomes has had a terrible fantasy year because they're winning other ways. He hasn't had receivers up until the last couple of games. He hasn't had anyone to throw it to, so they're winning other ways. He's not playing that well. So disappointing.
Before we move on, sorry, I know we're overrunning this quarter, but there is one more player I'd like to mention. It's Jalen Waddle, who somehow had 2 receptions, scored a touchdown, got -4 yards.
That's ridiculous.
2 catches and a touchdown, and it didn't get to 8 points in PPR. I was like, what are you doing?
I think it's an incredible stat line.
Apparently, his 2 touches went for 19 yards, and then he had was it a hook and ladder or something? Apparently there's a hook and ladder. No. And he ends up with -23 yards.
I think didn't the snap go over to his head, and he went back and recovered it and was tackled. I think I can't remember for sure, but I remember them losing like 24 yards on a play. Yeah, I don't know if it was Waddle that recovered it
on one play. So
yeah, Sorry, my bad.
It's all right. We needed to end it. Over. Ian's only mentioned Waddle to wind me up because he knows how I'm slowly losing interest in Jalen Waddle. I really want him to be great, but I mean, he is good. The fact he goes out injured every week doesn't help. Right. How did we do in game day?
Well, it's on H.
Yeah, so we did okay, but we just missed out on the money. So we finished 65th, which was 13 places off the money. Alvin Kamara was good at captain it. He got 55 points.
And then the captain's choice there. Nailed it.
Yeah. The rest of the team was okay. It's just there was no one that sort of really stepped out. So Stafford was 17.9. We went with Tracy as my bargain one. He was 7.9. Stevenson at 22.4. Cooper Kupp 21. Jaden Reed 16.3. And then my double tight end of Evan Ingram and McBride was 11.5 and 12.7. So it was good points. It's just not enough, sadly. So sorry, lads, let you all down.
Yeah.
Not angry, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, that is 100% your fault.
Are we tracking where we're at? Because it feels like we should be up. We've had enough wins to be up on the year.
We've all got 1 win each, I think.
Yeah.
Is that enough for us to be up financially?
I don't think so.
Probably not.
I think we were maybe last week, but not now.
So I don't know, because I saved us 1 week by not entering.
That is true, actually. Yeah. It's back on you now, Pete.
Right. Okay.
Who's captain?
So I have never seen CMC this low, and I'm so tempted to do it because he's at 6.8, but I'm not. And I'm going to give you Kareem Hunt at 6.2, which gives you a little bit more of a budget. But if you have a look, all of the big players this week, there's no one that's like where you go, that's a good deal. Everyone is expensive. So it was really hard. So it was either lose all of your budget on picking a player or try and find someone a little bit cheaper. And I went with Kareem Hunt, who has scored quite a lot of points recently. And he had 2 touchdowns this week. I think he scored 18 points and 25 points the last 2 weeks. So he's not a bad shout, I don't think.
The Chiefs playing wrong.
I can't even begin to explain how badly I think this is going to go.
It's even if you'd rather, I'll pick one of the big lads.
No.
The other one that I was considering. The other one that I was considering is Devonta Smith, who I think is maybe 6,000 but it depends on if AJ Brown's out. If AJ Brown's out, Devonta Smith. Do it that way.
I'll stick with Kareem Hunt, mate.
And then stick Kareem Hunt in as one of the running backs so that Ian doesn't kick off when he goes off for 50.
Well, it's your pick. So who are we going with?
Let's go Devonta Smith if AJ Brown's out. Do that.
Don't crumble because I've said something. Just stick with your player, mate, because you did this earlier in the season and you swapped it around and it didn't work.
This is why you just don't need to speak on my players because you cost us. Because when you told me to not do it, so I changed it. I went with Dak and CD Lamb, and it was CJ Stroud went absolutely off for 41 points. Cheers, mate. This is on you, not me.
Stay with Kareem on Pete.
Right. I'll work them both in, but I'll go with Kareem Hunt as captain. Picking half my team for me. We don't win. If we don't win, it's not my fault. It's because you two couldn't. You
won't put it on anyway, mate. So we don't need to worry.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, we will do that. As per usual, if you haven't been involved in Fantasy Game Day, you should check it out. Check out the app, download it, enter our code at JMD. No, it's not that's the post. Enter our code JMDFS. Yeah,
we got that.
Yeah, we got that.
It's only what 20 odd episodes we've done with them.
I'm jet lagged. Yeah. Get involved, you get a free week. It's all good. Right, let's move on to the JMD JTT Dynasty Leagues. It is getting serious. We're 9 weeks into the season. It's all going off. So in the Brady division, that's your division, H.
Yep.
Bloody tight, isn't it?
Yep.
Very tight. This week, the top scorer was Ranid Shaspeed. Still love that team name.
That's one of my favourite ones. That's one of my favourite team names.
181.7, so that was a big week. The lowest score was Team Evdokios at 101.46, which is the third time they've had the lowest score. So got some work to do. But as just mentioned, it is really tight. Owner of Brady is leading the way at 6-3, and everybody else is between 3 and 5 wins. So it's all to play for in that division. So with 5 weeks left of the regular season, there's still a lot to play for in that. We'll get onto the cup in a minute. In the Elway division, the top score for the week was Team Suarez Power, 175.36. The lowest score of the week was Team 89 Monday, 135.08. The most unlucky score of the week was Team JTT Cup, who scored 156.38. The 0.38 is the bit you need to remember, and got beat by Team Chemburns in a bottom of the table. They both only had one win going into that clash, who scored 156.44. We lost. Millionaire Matt lost this week by 0.06.
That is tough.
That's horrendous.
And outscored half the league while doing it. So that's a painful loss, and he sits at 1-8 as one of only 2 teams, I think, in the entire 4 divisions who are still stuck on 1 win. We're stuck on 1 win at 1-8. The 2 teams at the top, Team DS Liddy and Team 89 Monday, have both got 7 wins, and then there's 2 teams with 6 wins, Final Boss and Team Pestle. So that division is looking not necessarily over in terms of who the 4 playoff teams are, but it's looking very set. Those 4 are leading the way. In the Manning division, that's my lot. We have the only team at 9-0. The last waltz is still unbeaten at 9-0. That's a ridiculously impressive start.
Good going.
The highest scoring team this week was Team Scuba Lee, 191.06, and the lowest scoring team was Team Matty Leo with 114.06. We've got the last waltz at 9-0. We've then got Team Scuba Lee at Team Mungry Pablo at 7-2, and then I'm at 6-3. We've got a couple of teams at 2-7. But other than the last waltz, who are looking very, very playoff bound at 9-0, there's a lot still to play for. And in the final division, the Merino division, that's your lot, Ian.
Yep.
We had a 200-point scorer. So MKC Papa having scored the lowest in the division in back-to-back weeks in week 6 and 7. They put up 201 points this week to win. So that was a massive week. The lowest score went to Team Ginger Mamba at 123.86. Leading the way is Team Dynasty Island and the Dynasty Cowboys, who are both 7 and 2, and then Sherlock Mahomes at 6 and 3. I haven't got your record in front of me, Ian. What are you?
I'm at 4 and 5.
4 and 5, so still in the mix. Everyone's still in the mix.
Oh, I'm in the hunt.
Team Drift Edge.
Team Drift Edge. They are adrift.
Yes, Team Drift Edge are the other team at 1 and 8. So the two teams, that's them and JTT in the Elway division. So they're the teams in those relevant divisions you need to be poaching for trades. In the Cup, so it was the second to last week of the Cup. So our 4 finalists are Team Dynasty Island from the Merino division, Team Scuba Lee from the Manning division, the Final Boss from the Elway division, and the Yeovil Town 49ers from the Brady division, who won by 0.2 in that matchup. So that was 165.1 plays 164.9. So massively unlucky to owner of Brady. So that was so those 4 go in to this week's final. Whoever gets the highest score wins the voucher and the second cup competition. And then it's full speed ahead for the end of the season, the playoffs, and we'll also be looking at the Dynasty Super Champions League competition that we're running from week 13, which I need a better name for. So you need to be in the top 14 teams in terms of record at the end of week 12 to enter that. And as it stands, to give you an idea, we've got 11 teams that are 6 and 3 or better. So if you're 6 and 3 or better, you are currently sat in one of those 14 positions. If you've only got 5 wins or 4 wins, you need to pick it up a little bit. Any questions?
No, good luck to the guys that are still in the cup.
Yeah, I've updated all of the images. I will put an updated image on each of the groups before the game kicks off on Thursday, and we'll try and keep, if there's a bit of an update on Monday before Monday Night Football, I'll try and get that in the division as well, so everybody can see who's in the running ahead of Monday night, because I think Monday night's Rams Dolphins. So whilst it might not be the most exciting game of the weekend, it should be a lot of fantasy relevant players. So
yeah,
we'll keep them in the loop. But it's all going well. Waivers of Bran. Anybody you really fancied this week that you looked at and got or didn't get?
Yeah, I had 3. Did you have any?
I have 1.
Would you go first then, mate?
Yeah, so I've noticed in a few leagues that it's more of a stash kind of one for when your tight ends are, if your tight end's going to go onto a bye, and it's TJ Hawkinson, who is back. He played his first game this week. I think he only got 5 points, but with Hawkinson, he's a red zone target. And I reckon he's potentially one of those players that could have a really strong sort of finish towards the end of the season. So TJ Hawkinson, stash him up, and if you potentially need him later on, I think he could be a really good pickup. He's not available in a great deal of leagues. I've had a look to see, but he is available in quite a few. So if he is, pick him up, stash him away, and bring him out on a rainy day. Good rhythm.
Fair enough. Have you got any, Pete?
No, do you know what? There wasn't a lot of people that excited me this week. The only player I did pick up, which is a bit random, I don't know how many waiver wires he'd be on, but I picked up Justin Herbert in a league. In the league, I've got Kyler Murray in, and that was more looking at Kyler Murray's buying, not this week, next week. I'm going to trust Kyler this week. And then I was like, Justin Herbert, they're throwing the ball a little bit more. So, and it was more, I went looking for Quentin Johnston, and he was already taken in most of our leagues. I thought he might have been a good pickup. But the fact that they're throwing the ball around, Justin Herbert's capable, and they've got a couple of tougher matchups that might mean they need to throw the ball. So I was like, man, I think he could be useful in the running.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Well, my 3, the first one is Nick Westbrook-Akine. which is a really deep shout. But he scored 4 touchdowns in 4 games. So 4 straight games with a touchdown. And he got his season high score of 16 points last week. The issue is Calvin Ridley's getting all the targets. So in this 4-game stretch, Calvin Ridley has had 40 targets. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine has had 16. So there's a massive difference. But it's obviously Nick Westbrook-Ikhine getting the red zone looks. Because over those 4 weeks, even though Calvin Ridley has had 24 more targets, Westbrook-Ikhine has outscored him by 3.8 points. So Calvin Ridley isn't doing much with those targets. So if you want to jump on someone who's got a bit of a streak going, Westbrook-Ikhine scored 4 in 4. Stick him in your team so you can get 5 in 5. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then my last 2 are both tight ends. And the first one's Mike Gesicki, who we've already mentioned. Scored his first touchdown of the season this weekend. Followed it with his second touchdown of the season, so we got to see 2 griddies. His main competitor for targets, Eric Hall, is done for the season. He's torn his ACL.
And you've got no wide receivers.
Bad news for the rookie. And T. Higgins was another did not practice this week, which I am furious about. So Mike Gesicki could be in line for another big workload this week. And my last one, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but with players like Bowers and Joku and Tucker Kraft all on their bye, it might be worth looking at Taysom Hill to fill your tight end slot this week. Now, Olave is likely to be missing at least this week and probably a couple more. It's his second concussion of the season, 4th in his NFL career, 5th if you include college. And with Shaheed out as well, Taysom Hill should be a big part of this offense for the immediate future. Now, he's only played 5 games this year and he's averaging 8.1 PPR points a game, which is a full 2 points lower than the average of the top 20s because they're coming in at 10.1. But if you're at that stage of the season where you are swinging for the fences to try and make the playoffs, then Taysom Hill's upside this week and probably next week before Olave comes back might give you a couple of sneaky wins.
Yeah, I agree. There's a few of my leagues where I'm sort of just in the mix in a lot of them, which seems like that's not as good as I wanted to be. But considering how high I was on Chris Olave and Jalen Waddle before the start of the season, I'm taking that as the fact that I've managed to negotiate that and still end up in relevant in some of those leagues is pretty impressive. But yeah, I like them shouts. Taysom Hill. Yeah. Taysom Hill's always worth a gamble, I think.
I mean, that is until Derek Carr throws him into trouble and gets him killed.
Yeah. So talking of tight ends, my selection nightmares tight end. But you know when it's quite good this process because I'm like I was between 2 players and I thought that's my biggest nightmare this week. And the more I looked into it and the more I thought about it, the more I'm pretty set on one of them. So I can still go through it with you, but I'm pretty confident you're going to agree with me. So it was Evan Ingram who's playing the Vikings, who since he came back has averaged just short of 13 points a week. It's his full PPR. He's got a floor of 8 and a high of 18. So he's not like going massive, but he's pretty consistent. As we talked about last year, he doesn't tend to score touchdowns, for whatever reason, but he does have a lot of catches. And the other one's Cade Otton against the 49ers, who in the last 3 weeks has scored 18, 29, and 22. And looking at his targets and everything else, the more I looked at it, the more I thought, this is an obvious Cade Otton until Mike Evans gets back.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I have got a load of Evan Ingram. You know, I looked at his targets last year. He was the highest targeted tight end in the league last year, even more than Kelsey. And we all say that Kelsey gets spammed, but Evan Ingram got more than Laporte, who was tight end 1. But this year, I mean, he had his comeback game where he got 10 targets, 11 targets, 10 catches, something like that. But it's not been, you know, since then it's kind of dipped, hasn't it? But Cade Otton's on fire right now, and you got to go with the form guy.
Yeah. Not only that, I think he's still the only target there, isn't he? Mike Evans. Is Tucker out as well? I may have read that. Is it not Tucker? What's the other one?
Jalen McMillan's
questionable, yeah.
Yeah, so it's Cade Otton and Sterling Shepard, essentially.
Yeah. And even Sterling Shepard went down with question mark right before the game last week. I think he didn't practice on the Saturday. It's K. Dotton. I wouldn't even hesitate that one, mate.
It's not even close to a nightmare, really. So
no.
I apologise. I will come with something better next week. It felt like a nightmare this morning when I was making that decision.
That's the jet lag just kicking in, though, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, even with Shepherd available last week, Shepherd got 5 targets. K. Dotton got 11.
Mm.
So, yeah, you got to go with K. Dotton. Definitely. Drug H?
I have got a horrendous one.
Yes.
And it's our favourite running back.
James Cook.
It's what?
Is it Garrett Wilson or James Cook?
No, it's not. It's not. It's even better than that. It is Javonte Williams.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Whoever you're going to say.
Or Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So, just for context on this one, I am without Kenneth Walker this week, and I can't remember my other running back that I'm out with. So I need to pick one of these two for my second running back spot.
Which league's this?
I think Dynasty. Main Dynasty.
Right, so
I'm not against you, Pete, so don't worry.
Well, I wish you were against me with choices like that.
Yeah, but if you have a look, I've got Nico Collins back this week, so my receivers are Jefferson, Collins, and someone else.
So what are the matchups, H? Broncos against the Chiefs.
I'm just looking at that.
It is.
I've got the Bears.
I told you last week, H, that you need to come with the fixtures when you come with your selection nightmare. We should be looking up live on the pod. So I know it's Broncos Chiefs because my selection
Broncos Chiefs and the Bears Pats, if I remember right, with the second one.
At the Bears.
Yeah.
I think it's Ramondre. I'm going Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, I'd go Ramondre. The difference between Ramondre and Javonte Williams isn't a lot in terms of ability and production. The only difference, the thing that would swing it for me is the way they talk about Ramondre is, I mean, they gave him a load of money, so maybe they have to do this, but it's like, he's still our first choice and he keeps dropping it and making mistakes and they keep throwing him back in. On the flip side, if you listen to the Broncos talk about Javonte Williams, it's like, Audrey Estime looks good and we like McLaughlin and they're not. So I would, neither of them are going to play well, so it doesn't really matter, but I would go with Stevenson.
Cheers.
I think with the fact that the Chiefs are starting to click now, aren't they? And they're starting to put more points on. I think the Broncos could be relying more on Bo Nix rushing himself, which it turns out is actually really good at.
Yeah.
And abandoning
the Chiefs. Yeah, I've stuck with the Chiefs D in a couple of leagues this week, and I think because they were disappointing me on Monday night, but I think they could really shut the Broncos down this week.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I was kind of surprised at how badly the Broncos did against the Ravens, to be honest. So I think that step up of class, it does affect them, and that's why the Chiefs D is probably strong.
Yeah, I think my opinion of the Broncos is they're reasonably well coached, and Bo Nix has got enough that when they play crap teams, they'll beat them or at least be competitive. But when they play good teams, they will get found out.
Yeah. And if you want more evidence, so Kansas City are currently ranked third in rushing yards per game with only 83.9 allowed on average. So
someone's got to break it.
They are the third best run defense in terms of yards per game. So if you needed any evidence to not go with Javonte Williams, there it is.
Yeah.
Cheers.
What's yours?
So mine is also a Bronco, and it's Courtland Sutton, who we just discussed, is against the Chiefs, or Amari Cooper versus the Colts.
Ooh.
So here's the reason behind this. So Sutton is posted back-to-back 100-yard games. The Chiefs, we just discussed, they are third best in rushing defense. They are ranked 11th for passing yards allowed. Or Amari Cooper, who could be the primary target with Keon Coleman potentially out for the week with a wrist injury. The Colts are 7th worst in allowing air yards per game.
What did Cooper actually back though? He missed last week through injury.
Amari Cooper was limited today, so that's positive.
Okay.
Yeah, if he's practicing at all on Wednesday, he's going to play. You would imagine. I would lean Cooper. I don't have a lot of faith in the Colts right now. So,
well, Amari Cooper's not done anything at the Bills yet.
Yeah, I'm leaning more Sutton. Cooper's not been great this year, and I think Courtland Sutton's been fairly consistent all year. So I would go with Courtland Sutton myself because it's likely he's going to be the red zone target as well. So
I think the Chiefs will take.
We are assuming the Broncos are getting near the red zone, then, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
We've got Javonte Williams running back for him.
I think Courtland Sutton will take. Yeah, I think the Chiefs will take Courtland Sutton away. I think it'll be one of those games where it's the way the Chiefs play defense is very much right. Where's the main problem? Let's take that away, or at least try and take that away. They did it with Mark Andrews at the start of the year. They've done it several times, and I just think that will be their strategy. Whether they can do it or not is another matter. But I think that will be the plan: is to take Courtland Sutton out of the game and try and work from there.
And the Colts defense doesn't do that at all.
No.
Just like, do what you want, guys.
It is a tough one. It is a tough one.
So one of you is going Sutton and the other's going Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If it helps, I'm fairly confident in Courtland Sutton pick. If that helps you.
Well,
to be honest,
hopefully the socials can help me out.
Yeah, hopefully somebody will split a tie, but I could also see Amari Cooper not having a great game. So, and that comes down to the fact that I don't think the Colts are very good, and I think with James Cook and Ray Davis and the other lad whose name I forget, and Josh Allen running the ball a little bit, they might not have to throw it that much.
You're talking about Khalil Shakir?
No, I'd forgotten about him. I'm thinking about they've got another running back.
Frank Gore Jr.
Whose name I forget. But yeah, Shakir's the first
Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson. Yeah. Shakir's the one I'd forgotten about. Actually, it doesn't matter. Go with Courtland Sutton. They're going to get outscored. My prediction for this week is that those two get outscored by H's two. That's how bad that prediction is. That's how bad that nightmare is.
Well, I could just put Nick Westbrook-Ikhine in and hope for the best.
Yeah. Go with somebody completely different. Gamble. Right, we didn't win any money last week because we thought the Texans would beat the Jets. I don't know why.
You two.
To be honest, I don't know why you didn't suggest that the Jets would win that game. You got too much faith in your own team.
You should listen to me.
There was in that game. I know H will be raging about it, but there was a hilarious sequence of play where Ka'imi Fairbairn nailed a 54-yard field goal, only for the Texans to be given a first down for roughing the long snapper. And then they drove to the 27-yard line. And Ka'imi Fairbairn then missed from 27. So they had 3 points wiped off the board and chewed up a load of clock. And it was just like, if anyone's going to do that, I'd expect that to be the Jets, not the Texans.
Yeah, that's a very Jets thing to do, that. Before we start, I like to have a bit of a moan about the splits on Red Zone. Now, I get it this week. There's an early game, so we've got Panthers Giants as well, the Germany game. But it's a 7-3 split, which isn't the worst in the world, but also that's just not necessary, especially when one of those games in the early games is Chiefs Broncos. Those teams are 7 hours behind us, so that game is kicking off at 11 o'clock in the morning just to put it in the early window. Like, what? Why is that necessary? Stick it 2 hours later or 3 hours later. Let them have a bit of time to tailgate. Why are you kicking a game off at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can have a moan on week 13 when there's no teams on a bye as well. And then there's tons out on week 14.
He will, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not happy about that. They're the two things that bug me. The fact that they can't spread the buys out, and the fact that they can't. It's all about spreading things out for me. Spread the buys out, spread the games out. Like, it's just not necessary. I'm not what I'm. Are you watching Panthers Giants on Sunday? That doesn't sound like an exciting game at all.
I will be watching it. I'm not excited about watching it, but I will be watching it.
I'm at United Leicester, and I don't know which one's worse to watch. But I've got a ticket for one, so I'll go with that one. Right, Thursday night kick us off with the big game, one of the biggest games of the week. In fact, I'm going to call it the big game of the week. Bengals at Ravens. What Ravens. Thursday night football that is.
Ravens. Without a shadow of a doubt, the Ravens.
That's not the in-depth preview we were hoping for.
Well, you want the preview on the Bengals Ravens because we've got plenty of time, haven't we? This week isn't the week to play Chase Brown.
No.
Even after his breakout game last week, the Ravens are ranked first in the NFL for run D, and they've only allowed an average of 75 yards a game. On the flip side, they are the worst passing D, allowing 302 yards per game on average, which is the full 25 yards per game more than the number 2, which is Jacksonville. And the jump from the Ravens to Jacksonville is more than any jump from any other ranking, which shows you how much worse the Ravens D are than anyone else in the league compared to their closest competitor. So I'm expecting Joe Burrow to be airing it out rather than going to the ground game. I mean, Chase Brown might get a load of work in the air, but if you're playing him as a running back and you're not doing PPR or it's half PPR, he's not going to be getting many rushing yards. Plus, so it's likely going to be a shootout.
You're telling me Jamar Chase is going to make up for last week's terrible performance?
No, I'm telling you, Jermaine Burton is going to make up for being a healthy scratch last week.
I thought he was done.
He was sat in a casino in his pajamas instead of watching the game.
No. He was in the casino after the game. He was on the sideline for the game. After the game finished, he went straight to the casino, still in his sideline attire.
It's almost like
he didn't have anywhere else to be. He didn't have anywhere else to be. He
had attitude issues in Alabama, and that's why he fell to the third round.
He did, but we dropped him, and apparently he's apologised. We're happy to give him a warning on this one. And he's got to make it up for us.
I mean, we need to wrap this up, but that would worry me. I didn't know the casino thing. That would worry me greatly if you've dropped him and his response is to go to a casino that night, like because the sense
sat there on his own as well.
Yeah, to keep your head down.
It's not a great look. It isn't a great look. He'll have had a roasting behind closed doors at the Bengals.
Okay.
Zach Taylor and the coaching staff have backed him publicly, but he'll have had an absolute battering in private. But yeah.
Back to the predictions.
I've gone Ravens.
H.
Ravens.
It doesn't matter what I think then. Let's go with the Ravens.
What are you going to say Ravens though anyway?
I've got a feeling that you will win this week. I don't know if it's a strong enough feeling to put money behind it, but it doesn't matter at this point. I am leaning. If I was one way or another, I would be leaning Bengals. Yeah, I think you'll win. There's something about this. Something about this week. I think it'll turn into a bit of a shootout. I think you're right with all them stats, and I just think you'll find a way because you're going to win one of these. And like since your bad start, you're sort of beating the teams you're supposed to beat, and then you come up against teams like the Eagles and lose. I think sooner or later you're going to win one of these games and get back to sort of 500. And this is the game I think it's going to happen. So that's my prediction. Giants at Panthers. We'll throw in the Germany game just for giggles.
Well, it's prime time for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to be Giants, right?
I mean, I can't see any other result. I think the Panthers are terrible. So
yeah, I mean, now they've lost Mingo.
That'll make all the difference. They're not playing for this year. That doesn't help. I think apparently Bryce Young played all right at the weekend.
He played really well.
He did, to be fair, he did. He did. He looked all right.
I think that
to the point where I actually picked him up in a couple of leagues just in case.
Oh my god.
Dynasty leagues.
Yeah. H, Panthers or Giants? Clean sweep?
Well, you two have both gone Giants, so it's irrelevant, but I would have gone Panthers. I thought they played well last week, and I just don't rate the Giants. I rate them less than I do Panthers, but I've still got that soft spot for Bryce Young, so that's why. But I'd go Panthers.
It's not a great game.
It's a terrible game.
If I was in Germany, I'd be really upset that was the game they'd sent us. I know they got a decent game, but that's upsetting.
Malik Neighbours is getting 10 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I hope so, because I've got him in quite a few leagues, so that'd be nice.
If he's going to get to 120 yards in that team, he's going to need at least 14 catches.
No, it's all yards after the catch.
Oh, right, okay, that's very good.
On screens.
Sunday night should be good. Lions at Texans.
Lions are going to crush us so badly.
This must be really difficult.
This is one of those games where you realise how far away the Texans are from actually a Super Bowl team. But we do have positive news this week. We've got Al-Shaair back, who's our starting Mike linebacker. We should have Jimmy Ward back as well. We've got Jeff Okudah back. There's a lot of players coming back on defense. We've also got Nico Collins, who I believe was limited in training today, but there is no better team in the NFL right now, in my opinion, than the Lions. In terms of how they're playing, I know the Chiefs are statistically better at 9-0 now, but I am 8-0. 8-0, I don't know where they are. 8-0. But the Lions are absolutely terrifying, and I think they'll destroy us. I've said I was with Pete with the prediction. I think the Lions is in the Super Bowl this year. That I've said it all season. I thought it'd be the Ravens that would be on the AFC side, but yeah, I don't see anything other than Chiefs Lions at the minute, to be honest.
Okay, I agree with that. Sounds enough. And Dolphins at Rams Monday night should be a good game as well. Now the Dolphins look like a competent football team again.
I'm actually looking forward to this game. I think it'll be a really good game.
Would you like to?
Do you want to give us a winner?
Suggest a winner?
I'm going to go Rams. I think the Rams had a really good result this week, and they played really well actually as well in the game. I think they're on a little bit of a roll. Obviously, the running back situation is they've got a freak there with Karen, and then on top of that, having Cooper Kupp back, Puka Nacua back, they look like a team that is really trying to make a huge push for the playoffs. So I'm going Rams.
His punt returners go. He's not bad, is he?
He's pretty good for a punt returner.
Yeah, I'm going Rams too. Ian?
Yeah, not that it matters now because I'm going Rams as well. As long as Puka Nacua can stop throwing punches.
What's mad about that play was it was over, and he knew it was over, and he just felt like the guy was just shoving him for the sake of shoving him. So I actually have a little bit of sympathy for him because it doesn't look like he throws a punch. It looked like he throws a hand to the face to say, "Get off me, mate," kind of thing. And I also don't think Puka Nacua is a kind of player that just throws punches out for the sake of it. He's not like a Mike Evans and a Lattimore kind of duel. Yeah. It was just one of them, get off me. And because it was up at the head, I think that's why he's got flagged and disqualified. There's a few disqualifications though this week, weren't there?
The thing, I can't remember which podcast I was listening to this morning on the way to work that mentioned it, but it's one of those things I've thought about before. It's like people who punch helmets. What
stupid. Stupid.
And the thing that made me laugh is they compared it to getting road rage, getting out of your car and punching somebody else's car. I was like, yeah, that's exactly the same thing. It does no damage to the person in the helmet. It just hurts your hand. Like, what are you doing?
Well,
I've said this. If you're going to do it, do a Myles Garrett. Take your helmet off and swing it at him.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, like, you were watching the ice hockey over in Denver. Like, at least they have the courtesy to take the helmets and the gloves off before they start. They're out, you know.
That's it. Take your helmets off. Take your gloves off.
Be polite. Right, be polite.
Yeah,
take
we're
all
good
your
to go.
Off. Yeah. Oh, if you're going to lash out, just kick him in the nuts.
On that, thanks for listening as always. Like and subscribe to all of our socials at JMD Pod. Like and subscribe on YouTube if you can when you get a minute. And we'll speak to you next week. H might not be here for a couple of weeks. He's taking a break from us.
Yeah, I've got a lot going on in my life at the moment, so I will be potentially waiting for a few. It might just be me and Ian next week. I don't know whether that makes you more likely to tune in or less likely to tune in. We'll find out when we look at the viewing numbers afterwards, but I am sure it will be great anyway. Right, boys, I will speak to you over the weekend. Goodbye to everyone else, and we will speak to you next week.
Later.
Good night.